On Friday night, the New York Mets scored 9 runs to blow out the St. Louis Cardinals by a score of 9-3. Is this lineup starting to hit its stride and ready to carry the load in the month of May? I'll talk about that and more on today's show.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on X at Finkelstein Ryan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Now, the New York Mets were coming off a couple of tough losses against the Diamondbacks, but if we look back at their last 3 victories, the final game in their series against the Nationals, the first game in their series against the Diamondbacks, and then Friday night's victory over the Cardinals, the Mets have scored at least 8 runs in all 3 of those games. Why is that significant? Well, through the first 28 games of the season, the Mets had scored 8 or more runs just twice. And now, over the last 5 games, they have scored 8 or more runs 3 times, a 19-run barrage, an 8-run game on Tuesday against the Diamondbacks. And then tonight, they scored 9 runs against the Cardinals. And honestly, they could have had more because Juan Soto had a bases-loaded opportunity in the second inning, did not come through. Luckily, the Mets had scored 2 runs before that. Brandon Nimmo, leadoff walk. Jesse Winker and Mark Vientos each got base hits to load the bases. Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez each grounded out, but they each picked up an RBI with those ground outs. Then Luisangel Acuna and Francisco Lindor each drew walks to bring Soto up the bases loaded. He struck out looking. That would have been an opportunity for the Mets to maybe have a 4 or 5 run inning, but they got one of those 4-run innings in the 5th, and it was Juan Soto who got that rally going, hit a double with 1 out. It's actually an 0-2 count, drove the baseball into the right field corner, and then Pete Alonso, also an 0-2 count, hits a 2-run homer, an absolute bomb. That put the Mets up by a score of 4-3, erasing an early deficit that Clay Holmes had put the Mets in as they were trailing 3-2 for the first couple innings there. After Alonso's home run, the Mets just kept on hitting. Brandon Nimmo and Jesse Winker each singled. Mark Vientos hit into what should have been an inning-ending double play, but Wilson Contreras just couldn't catch the ball. It wasn't even a pick, just a straight-up throw that he didn't catch. And that allowed Brandon Nimmo to scamper home, and that extended the inning. Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez each got base hits, with Alvarez's single driving in Mark Vientos for the 4th run of that inning. Alvarez picked up another RBI in the 7th, driving in Tyrone Taylor, who had a 2-out double coming off the bench. That was the 2nd run of the inning as Brandon Nimmo led things off with his 7th homer of the season in that 7th inning. Tyrone Taylor would score again in the 9th inning as he was hit by a pitch, went first to third on a base hit by Francisco Alvarez, and scored on a sac fly by Luisangel Acuna. If you look at the Mets lineup in this one, every single hitter in the starting lineup got a knock. Tyrone Taylor got hit off the bench. Starling Marte, the only guy that played in this game that didn't get a hit, went 0 for 2 off the bench. Francisco Alvarez, a great game, goes 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs. Juan Soto and Pete Alonso each go 2 for 5. Soto with the double on the run scored. Alonso with the 2-run homer. Brandon Nimmo goes 3 for 3 with 2 walks. So he got on base 5 times. Before that crazy game to start the week off in DC, Brandon Nimmo had a 576 OPS. Now, after going 4 for 6, where he drove in the 9 runs, hit the multiple home runs, and now a 3 for 3 game with 2 walks, he has raised that OPS up to 720. That's pretty remarkable to raise your OPS by about 145 points, or is that right? 145. Yeah, 145, something like that, 139 points, whatever it is. Quick math on the fly. Not the best for me. 134 points, geez. I think that's right. 134, doesn't matter. 144 points? I'm like a dog with a bone on this one. Yeah, 144 points. Geez. 144 points in the matter of 5 days is pretty remarkable. Just shows you how quickly things can turn around. And if you look at the pace he's on this season now, with the 7 home runs, 21 RBIs, he is on pace for 34 homers and 103 RBIs this season, both of which would be absolute career highs. Last year, he got over 90 RBIs for the first time. Still hasn't even gotten over 25 home runs yet, I don't believe. I think it's been 24 and then 23 home runs the last 2 years. I could check on that to know for sure. But Brandon Nimmo is definitely getting into the power a little bit more. I think that's just an evolution of his game. It's actually 22 RBIs right now. I did the pace right, though, so still over 100 RBIs on the pace. And looking at the home run totals for Brandon Nimmo across his career, 23 last year, 24 in 2023. He is at least going to clear 25 this year, and I would not be surprised at all if this was the first 30 home run season of Nimmo's career. Pete Alonso is now up to 30 RBIs. That puts him on pace for 147, also on pace for 39 home runs. And he took home his first award of the year as he was named the National League Player of the Month. Luis Angel Acuna was named the NL Rookie of the Month. And with those guys in place, along with everybody else in this lineup, the Mets are incredibly dangerous right now. Brandon Nimmo starting to turn a corner. Juan Soto seems to be turning a corner as well. Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso have been the constants all year. Once those 4 guys are rolling, you have such a dynamic top of the lineup that really can win games by themselves. And then you look at the bottom half of the lineup. I still like the at-bats the Mets are getting from Jesse Winker. Starling Marte, not as much, and maybe that's something that they look at down the line. Maybe at some point they will find some way to improve the other half of that DH platoon. We'll see what that might look like. It could be something as simple as, DHing Brandon Nimmo some days or Juan Soto and having Jeff McNeil play the outfield against a lefty and rolling like that. We'll see exactly how this roster evolves. That's like the one sort of sore spot on this entire team right now, because I like what they're doing in center field with Jeff McNeil and Tyrone Taylor. McNeil, there was one play today, I think it was the first inning, a double that Tyrone Taylor probably gets to, and those are going to happen. There's going to be some balls to drop in, but McNeil still made a couple of good catches, cut off a ball or two that was heading to the gap. I still think he's fine in center field, and it's okay for the first 6 innings of the game to get in the first 3 at-bats, and it allows Mendoza to be flexible with Tyrone Taylor coming in the game off the bench, and you can put him in a variety of spots in the lineup depending on where you're at with Jeff McNeil's versatility. I just look now at this lineup with those top 4 that we talked about, with the potential of Mark Vientos that he can still tap into much, much more, what Jesse Winker can give you with his professional at-bats, Francisco Alvarez adding some more pop to the bottom of the lineup, Jeff McNeil seems to me like he's swinging the bat pretty well right now, and Luis Angel Acuna, I love him in that 9 hole. To me, this is a team that's as deep as any in baseball right now, and a lineup that could really start to carry the team in the month of May, where the pitching was carrying the team in the month of April. I really think that can switch a little bit. But at the same time, maybe everything is working for the Mets, and they keep getting good pitching, but the hitting then meets them at that level, and this team can just turn into even more of a wagon. I want to talk about the pitching in this game in just a minute. First, though, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props from three-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 bonus today. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're watching on YouTube today, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Help us get closer to our next goal of 14,000 subscribers. If you're liking the video, throw a like on it. Leave a comment. Do you think that the Mets are going to roll offensively, or are there still some more struggles ahead? Let me know your take on this Mets lineup. But let's talk about the pitching staff now. Clay Holmes had his second quality start of the season, got through 6 innings on 92 pitches. He gave up 8 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts, 3 earned runs, First inning could have gone the other way on Holmes. He gave up a leadoff double. That was the ball that I think Jeff McNeil, or I should say Tyrone Taylor, would have caught. Jeff McNeil couldn't quite get to. Then an infield single, scored a run. Holmes got a fly out. Francisco Alvarez then gunned down a runner, and then Holmes got a pop-up to get out of that inning, having only given up one run. In the third inning, Clay Holmes got hit around a little bit, gave up 4 base hits. The first one to Victor Scott, who advanced to second base on a ground out, then stole third, really catching the Mets sleeping. And even worse, Francisco Alvarez tries to make a throw to third base. It was an errant throw, and that allowed Victor Scott to come around and score. Holmes then gives up 2 other singles, putting runners at the corners with 1 out, gets a big strikeout, but could not get out of the jam without giving up another run, gives up another base hit, and then finally got out of the jam with a fly out. But from that point on, after the first 3 innings, Holmes really settled in. He retired 9 of the final 10 batters that he faced, only allowing another single in the 6th inning. Now you look up through 7 starts this year, Holmes has a 2.95 ERA, and his whip, which is walks and hits over innings pitched, is right in line with what he's done throughout his career, primarily as a relief pitcher. His career whip is 1.3. Right now, his whip as a starting pitcher is 1.28. So he really has turned himself into obviously a different version of the guy that was with the Yankees, but someone who is as effective as he was as a lockdown reliever, but coming out of a starting rotation, giving you 5+ innings. He has been really good, and I think you're seeing the continued progression of Clay Holmes. The last 2 starts, the strikeouts have dipped a little bit, but that's allowed him to, I would say, pitch deeper into the game. But the last time out was that weird rain delay game where he only got up to 70 pitches, but it was 70 pitches through 5 innings, if I'm not mistaken. So he absolutely could have gone more if the circumstances were different due to the weather. I think what's really impressive about Clay Holmes, for one, he has not allowed a home run all season, but also he's only allowed 4 extra base hits total through 7 starts. For context, Kodai Senga has made 6 starts. He's allowed 7 extra base hits, and Senga's been unbelievable. So that just shows you that when it comes to Clay Holmes, if teams are going to get to him, it's typically going to be death by 1,000 cuts. It's going to be all those base hits because he is such a tough pitcher to really square up and get for extra bases. And that's the same guy he was as a relief pitcher, where, you know, they didn't love him as a closer, some Yankees fans, because he wasn't the guy that was going to come out there and strike out the side necessarily, and he was going to pitch to contact at times. But as a starting pitcher, that works. And I'd rather him pitch to contact and get through 7 innings than strike out 10 and only pitch 5. And I think he's trending in that direction where he's going to be able to go 7 innings in some of these starts soon. I think he's really starting to figure it out, and that is a huge boost to this rotation to have this guy who's not getting paid a starter salary based on what other starting pitchers of his caliber now are getting paid, 16, 17 million. Clay Holmes' contract was what? Is it like a little bit north of 10, somewhere between 10 and 15. It was 13 million. Yeah, 3 years, 38. So it's just shade below 13 million a season. Lee has an opt-out after the second year. And the Mets are sitting pretty with this contract for the next 2 seasons because they're going to be getting some really great value on this deal for a starting pitcher. So we'll see if he can keep it up, but definitely another solid outing for Clay Holmes. Yes, he gives up 3 runs, but gets you through 6 innings. That was pretty awesome. This team has needed the starting pitcher to give them some more length, and that was a good start by Holmes to pick up his second quality one of the season. Then after Clay Holmes, Carlos Mendoza put Jose Butto out there for a clean inning. What a concept. And how did Jose Butto reward him? With 2 more scoreless innings. First inning was a 1-2-3 frame. Second inning gives up a leadoff double. Then he pitched around Brendan Donovan to put runners at first and second base, set up the double play. He gets a double play, a ball off the bat, Nolan Arenado, then another ground out to end the threat. This guy now, I think it's 12 innings pitched when he gets a clean inning. He's allowed only 1 run in those spots. This is how you use Jose Butto. You have him pitch 2 innings at a time, and you make sure that he comes in with a clean inning, and I think he will be just fine. Ryan Stanek had a nice bounce back outing himself, obviously pitching with a monster lead, only needed 6 pitches to pick up the final 3 outs of the game and finish it off for the New York Mets. So another really solid outing by the Mets staff as a whole. They were able to once again rest some guys in that bullpen. Edwin Diaz still hasn't pitched since I can't even remember. I don't think he got in there for that Diamondback series. It might be since Saturday, since we've seen Edwin Diaz. So he's very well rested. You got Garrett today, which is important. Brazaban, Kranick. So you should have a pretty well-rested bullpen for the second game of the series, which would be Tyler McGill going up against Eric Fetty. I also wanted to mention here that the Mets' longest losing streak this year is still only 2 games. Tyler McGill will try to start a winning streak against Fetty, who has been largely good this season, but's had 2 bad starts. We'll see if the Mets can make it a 3rd bad start. I'll be curious to see if Jeff McNeil's back in center field or if they go with Tyrone Taylor. Maybe they give Acuna a day, put McNeil at second base. We'll see how they juggle those 3 guys. The rest of the lineup could be very similar. Maybe Turan starts the day game after the night game. And then on Sunday, Alvarez might get back out there. But the Mets looking to win a series early in St. Louis. And then the final game of the series, it'll be Blade Tidwell getting the nod. For those of you who listened to yesterday's show, I made that prediction. It did come true. Tidwell will be the spot starter on Sunday. The Mets are then expected to bring up Daniel Nunez, like I talked about as well. So if you missed all that on yesterday's show, check it out. I give you a pretty clear idea of what the Mets pitching plan will be. And all of that has kind of come together with the reporting that happened today, where the Mets are expected again to have Tidwell make his MLB debut on Sunday. And then you would imagine Daniel Nunez comes up on Monday when the Mets head to Arizona. There was a roster move today. Ty Adcock goes back to Syracuse. Austin Warren, who was on the 40-man roster, comes up to give the Mets a fresh arm in that pen. Genesis Cabrera will stay in the bullpen for now, so the Mets are clearly going to give him a chance here to be the lefty in that bullpen, although they got a high-octane young left-hander who's now in AAA, who just had an amazing start, who could very well factor into this bullpen mix. I want to talk about Felipe De La Cruz and some other pitching prospects in just a minute. First, though, quick word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live between the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the smell of ballpark food. And if you are looking to go to a game last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. I don't buy my tickets until I am walking into the ballpark. Then I pull open the Game Time app. I look at the seat map. I find the seat that looks best for me. I look at the view from my seat so I know what to expect when I arrive. That all looks good to me. I can check out and have tickets sent to my phone in a matter of seconds. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. If you're an everyday listener to the show, make sure you become a Locked On Mets insider. This is our texting service where you get updates from me anytime news breaks in the Mets. You can ask me questions anytime. You can also stay a partner of Locked On Mets sign photo giveaways. If you want to be a Locked On Mets insider, find the link in the episode description. Go to subtext.com/LockedOnMets. Now I want to start things off for our little prospect report here with Felipe De La Cruz, because he made his debut in AAA tonight. He was outstanding. 6 innings pitched, 1 hit allowed, no walks, 9 strikeouts. He got through 6 innings on only 70 pitches. Now, who is this kid? If you haven't missed, or if you have missed me talking about him over the last couple weeks, he's a 23-year-old who was signed out of the Dominican Republic in 2021. He came stateside in 2022, pitched his first full season in 2023, where he spent most of the year in St. Lucie before making 3 starts in Brooklyn to close out the year. Across all of his outings between the 2 levels, he pitched to a 4.36 ERA and 107 1/3 innings pitched, but he struck out 131, which is really impressive. Last year, spent the entire season in Brooklyn, had 116 strikeouts and 106 innings pitched, a 4.25 ERA. But this year, he has been absolutely lights out. He made 4 appearances in AA, 2 starts, 2 bulk relief appearances, struck out 20 and 13 2/3 innings pitched, had a 1.98 ERA, The Mets bump him up to AAA, I think partially due to necessity because they just had so many arms up and down, up and down. They probably just needed a body. But also, this was a guy that was thriving in AA. He's not the level of a pitching prospect as a Noel McLean or a Jonah Tong, guys that you're maybe a little more hesitant to fast track because maybe you have a little more invested in their development. So you might take your time a little more on those guys, and those guys are a little more nationally recognized, top 10 prospects in this system who have a lot of value on the market. But Felipe De La Cruz is certainly gaining a ton of value right now. And I think the interesting thing about this promotion to AAA after only 4 appearances in AA, it shows that they think his stuff can thrive and can, well, maybe it's survive considering how some pitchers have fared in AAA. But I think it's a testament to his stuff, but also the need the Mets have with their 2 left-handed relievers going down, within a week of each other, basically, or maybe not even a full week of each other, where now with no Minter, no Danny Young, you have Genesis Cabrera, but how much do you really trust him? Felipe De La Cruz could very well be a guy that Mets decide, you know what? Let's call him up and let's have him pitch in bulk relief because he does have electric stuff. For his 9 strikeouts, one of them was a pitch clock violation. The other, I think 7 of the other 8 were on sliders, and then 1 was on a sinker up in the zone. He's a sinker slider pitcher. That sinker, he can throw in the upper 90s, doesn't sit in the upper 90s, but he can get it up there. And the slider's disgusting. So there's your 2-pitch mix as a reliever. He makes sense to me as a reliever. Obviously, if he can be a starting pitcher, you still want to try to develop that. But if the team needs you right now, and hey, you're a 23-year-old who might be able to cash a big league check for the first time, you're not going to complain to come pitch out of the bullpen. And I am curious if he stays in AAA, if this was just, all right, we're low on arms and they send it back down to double. If it's not, and he has another good appearance or 2, and the Mets are just cycling a bunch of lefties through their bullpen, you never know what could happen. Felipe De La Cruz could be part of the Mets as soon as this season. Even if not, he is a great piece for this team to have moving forward. Now, Noel McLean also made a start tonight, part of a doubleheader. He went 6 scoreless, allowed 5 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. His ERA is at 1.37 through 5 starts this year with 30 strikeouts in 26 and a third innings pitched. So he continues his dominance, looking like a guy that right now is clearly the second best pitching prospect to Brandon Sproat in the Mets system, and somebody that could be in AAA pretty soon as well. He is definitely showing that AA competition is one that he can really kind of chew up and spit out and do really well with. So we'll see how much longer McLean stays in double. Meanwhile, Jack Wenninger had his first rough start of the season. He's been one of the standout performers for the Mets. Has just been ridiculously good in AA. This outing this week, he gives up 6 runs on 7 hits and 2 walks. So definitely a big learning experience for Wenninger. Meanwhile, Zach Thornton made his first AA start. He went 4 1/3, allowed 5 hits, no walks, 2 strikeouts, and 2 earned runs. Not the best start, but certainly not the worst. Good to see Zach Thornton getting going. He is a very interesting pitching prospect for the Mets, who really was just unbelievable in Brooklyn and sort of forced the Mets' hand where he wasn't getting challenged in high A. So bring him along to double and see if some challenges follow. First start, a little bit of challenges for sure, but he navigated those waters and ultimately did a pretty good job. One hitting prospect I wanted to talk about, Jet Williams is on fire right now. He has hit safely in 17 of 20 games this year. He's hitting 303 on the season, 361 on base, 526 slug. So you put that together, that is an 877 OPS, 2 home runs, 2 triples, 7 doubles. He's just 21 years old. So Jet Williams is once again reminding us of why he is the top position player prospect in this farm system. Where would the Mets find playing time for him this year? That I don't know. You have a guy in Luis Angel Acuna who just won Rookie of the Month, so I'm sure they're going to keep rolling with him. Ronnie Mauricio and is still going through the rehab process. Then he'll be in AAA. Brett Beatty will be in AAA. So there's a lot of guys that could be ahead of him in the organizational depth chart. At the same time, if Jet Williams is just simply awesome in AA and maybe gets to call it AAA and hits the ground running, there's a world where he can be the center fielder of the New York Mets this season. I really do think that that's possible. Theoretically, he could be the second baseman of the New York Mets if things start to turn for Acuna I just don't foresee that the way Acuna's been swinging the bat. He's been so much more disciplined in the box. He's not chasing out of the zone, making it tough on himself anymore. And that's the type of guy that you bet on. So I think the Mets have a lot of young talent right now. This farm system is getting better and better and better. On the position player front, Jet Williams is an interesting name to watch. Drew Gilbert is as well. He's had some pretty good games so far in AAA, but his OPS is around 730. So still not tearing the cover off the ball like he might have to earn an opportunity with the Mets. But for now, I think this team is in a really good spot, both with their big league roster and some of the moves they're going to make over the coming days that will help them navigate the rest of this stretch of 26 games played in 27 nights. And then just in general, moving past it, this bullpen is not going to be as good as it was in April all year long. There's going to be some regression to the mean, but I think the Mets are ready to handle that. And I think that they're going to continue to get some players to come up this year from the minor league system, like a Blade Tidwell is now for a spot start, who can make a really big impact on winning for the New York Mets. So exciting stuff for this team. I will likely not have a show for you on Sunday morning. We're going to see how my night goes. I'm going to be out of town celebrating my parents' 60th birthdays that are coming up, but they won't be around for it. And also my mother-in-law's 60th birthday that just passed. So we're celebrating 60 this weekend. I'm probably not going to do a show, but you just never know. If I do, it's going to be audio only. So make sure that you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast so you don't miss that show. Even if it is audio only, I will still post the audio with the thumbnail on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe video so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming Locked On Mets content. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Follow me on X at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listener, your first watch every day. Now for your second watch, head over to YouTube and check out the first ever 24/7 streaming channel that covers everything in the world of sports. I'm talking about Locked On Sports Today. Our local hosts from each team, league-wide hosts from each league. Find Locked On Sports Today streaming 24/7 on YouTube.